Hey, welcome to another edition of Local Focus, and welcome into the Proview Network studios here in Albuquerque. A basketball tournament, by the time you're watching this, is just wrapped up, the state tournament. So congratulations to all those teams. And we're going to go a little different direction in this episode. This is not going to be a high school guest. He did his time, and we'll get to some of his high school accolades in a moment. But I want to take you back to a quote out of the Albuquerque Journal on November 19th that said, "With a new coach's whistle around his neck and a practice schedule folded in his sweatpants, the first day of the rest of Devon Williams' basketball career began." My guest is Devon Williams. When you heard that at that time, did you think you'd be up and playing again?
I had no clue, honestly. Like everything going on that time, it was just like very emotional. A lot of things, like my mind was racing. I had butterflies, and so at that point in time, I had no idea of like what was to come and what I was gonna do.
And we'll get back to that as we go through the episode. But I thought that was a great way to start, because what you're doing right now is you are back on the floor, and that's what brings you into our studio. You're an Albuquerque Bull Snake. Talk about the Albuquerque Bull Snakes and that whole experience.
Well, yeah, it's a new team, ABA team, just starting out, and yeah, it's something that's going to be new, and I feel like it can be a big part of the community. We have a collective group of individuals who just want to play basketball, want to get better, and then want to bring another form of entertainment to Albuquerque and just, take distractions off of things that are going on that might not be the best things in the community. And so I feel like this can be a really big opportunity to do something special out here.
If you're not familiar with the team, you can go to gobullsnakes.com, check out their roster and schedule. But I checked out the first game. It was a couple of weeks ago. When you're watching this, it'll be a couple of weeks ago at La Cueva, and it was pretty up and down. If you're a fan of that style of offense, right? I mean, you can't beat that. So it's gonna be fun to play in that style, certainly, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. We want to be more of a running gun team. Get up, definitely get our shots, but also. One of the things, it was our first game together, we're getting a feel for each other, and so just figuring out how we connect, what type of chemistry we're going to have. That was a good game to really find an identity for ourselves more than anything, but just to be able to understand who we're playing with, and also get a chance to get to know each other better and present the team to the Albuquerque community.
The ABA Professional League, obviously, is you can look it up online, but you're going to be the teams are mostly in this part of the United States that you'll be traveling to, right? Mm-hmm. When does the season begin? Talk about that a little bit.
So we'll be having exhibition games going until around November, that's when the actual season will start. And
the first game, now, this was a fun product. I'm telling you, you guys need to get out there. I mean, because not only, obviously, it was good to see you back on the floor, which was cool, but on the other side, there weren't slouches on the other side either, right? You're playing Jamal and those guys. So,
oh, yeah.
So we talked about it a little bit when you first came in, but talk about the love affair with this community and the game of basketball.
Well, this community it's been special to me just because it's helped me grow and develop into the individual I am today, along with basketball, the individuals in Texas who helped to groom me, and then that accompanied with the experiences and the opportunities that I've had out here is I just want to find a way to pour back into the community, and I feel like basketball is one of those biggest things, and sure enough, this team came along, and hopefully I can use this as an opportunity to give back into the community and help with some initiatives, hopefully.
Obviously, in this town, we've seen teams come and go, but basketball, if anything, has a chance to thrive. It would seem to be basketball, right? Because you see the support for Lobos, you see basketball. What were your expectations of that first game? Did the size of the crowd, was it more than you thought, less than you thought? What are your expectations for the year?
It was a little bit less than I thought. I felt like we were going to have a little bit more. But for the first game, I feel like it was the biggest thing is just showing that we're here.
Right.
And I understand, like, I really wanted to win. I really believe that we could have won that game with the talent that we have. But the biggest thing is understanding who we have on the team, you know, understanding the style of play, getting to know the coaches, getting to know the organization, and then also having the opportunity to see what other guys are in the community that might be willing to, you know, play with the team if need be.
So can you give us a little inside info on that after the last game? A couple of guys on the other side maybe that you want to ink up? Or
no,
you're not the GM?
No, I'm not the GM. You know, depending on how things go, you might hear about it in the media. You know, I'll let them take care of all the publicity and what's going on and who's going to be on the team and all that.
There is a good pool of basketball players here that live in the community, right? So you, PMAC still, Philip McDonald still lives here, right? You know, some of the guys you faced. So there's definitely a good pool, right? So this rosters could still change, right?
Oh, yeah, no, it still might change. But with the guys we have right now, I still believe like there's no doubt in my mind that we can make some noise in the ABA and make some noise with this roster that we have.
Is it anything special to you that, you know, kind of you're the big poster item, right, on the team right now? That's kind of, you know, you just go out and play, or is it cool that, hey, they kind of want to market this thing around me, they want to spotlight me? Is that kind of cool?
I mean, for me, basketball is always going to be basketball, regardless of like if I'm being having a little more exposure than other guys. But it is a really great experience to kind of be like one of the centerpieces of the team and to have that exposure and to just have that kind of camera on me in a sense.
What tell Lobo fans that are watching, what are you doing in Albuquerque away from the floor? Obviously, you're one of us now, right? You're an Albuquerque guy now, right? So talk about that.
Yeah. So right now I'm working with Montezuma. I'm an educational assistant there, just helping out the special education or special needs kids, just because right now in APS there's been like a shortage of employees, and there definitely needs to be some more support there, not only in elementary but middle and high school, all through APS. And just doing that, I've gotten an understanding of like what it's like being on the other side of things, because, you know, I've obviously had my downs and been in some rough situations growing up, but just out here, just to kind of see some of the things that kids go through, and to see, to just be a part of them changing for the better, you know, being that stable person that they might need in their life, or just being able to support them, help them learn and grow. And so just doing that, and then hopefully with the Bull Snakes, help to do some more things with the community. I'm also training kids, you know, because I have a gift, I have a talent, and I feel like for me it would be kind of selfish if I didn't find a way to share that gift and pass it on to the next generations. So also what I want to do is get more involved in the community in terms of training kids and teaching them the game of basketball.
All right, so I got to ask here before we go to break. You got your foot in the door, right? APS, educational assistant. We're the high school network here. How close are we to being able to call you Coach Devon Williams? Is that something you're thinking about for the future?
Oh yeah, it's definitely something that's been on my mind. It just kind of depends on how things go in the next 2 or 3 years. But no, I would love to be a coach out here, and love to start a big-time powerhouse program in Albuquerque.
Look out, coaches. He's coming for you. We're going to take our first time out, back more with Devon Williams after this.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
We're back with former Lobo Devon Williams, and we talked about maybe him getting into some coaching right before we went to the break. So, we want to go back to your high school days a little bit. Tell us about your high school time at Wilson.
Well, my high school days, that's what ultimately made me the person I am today, with the great coaches that I had out there, and Coach Washington and Coach Thornton especially. The trials and tribulations that I went through out there, from running every day, practicing for 4 to 5 hours, putting those extra hours in the gym, and those times where, I'm not gonna lie, I've wanted to quit basketball, but just having them, and then just having the people around me, they helped me to learn how to push through things, push through pain, and that's ultimately how I got my opportunity to play out here in New Mexico, and how I got to have the opportunities that I have today.
So what do you tell young guys that, talk about your buy-in, obviously not only to your future, but to the team now. I did a little bit of research, and, you guys had 4 players in double figures your senior year. So obviously you had to buy into a team concept.
Oh, yeah.
Because your average you averaged 12, 9, and 3 your senior year. Mm-hmm. So you're buying into a team concept. Talk about buying into the team concept, talking about buying into your future by just keeping at it.
Well, one of the biggest things that I learned in high school is that nothing great has ever been done alone, regardless of what you've seen, in terms of big-time artists, big-time NBA, NFL, whatever, big-time athletes or big-time entertainers. They have a team around them. And so don't think just because you're not scoring as many points, or you feel like you don't have as big a role as another guy on the team, that you're not making a difference. You'll be surprised, say in the Super Bowl, you see a kicker who misses that game-winning field goal, or, you might have your star player foul out in a basketball game, and you see that person that may walk on because they're the only person who could play and only person open, missing that 3 just because they weren't putting in the time in the gym. You're only as good as your weakest link, so just make sure that when you're training and stuff, one, that you obviously, there's going to be things you have to do alone, but make sure that you have somebody to train with you to help you get better, to help critique you when you're missing certain things that you can't see just from looking in the mirror, or just from training by yourself. So yeah, just the team concept, that's the biggest thing. And a lot of people have this misconception of, oh, I have to do this alone, I have to do this by myself, I don't need these people. No, you definitely need help, especially if you want to be great and you want to get to be a better person, or to get to a greater or higher level.
What were you not good at in high school? What part of your game, if we went to the video vault, what would we not believe that you struggled at, and how did you get better at it?
Well, the biggest thing for me is one, being strength, but two was defense. Defense could have been a little better in high school, and then 3 was shooting. My sophomore year, I had a decent struggle with my sophomore year. I suffered a foot injury, and I changed up my shot because I wasn't strong enough to just shoot regular from a chair, and so I kind of got a hitch in my shot, which I've slowly and
that sophomore
recently.
year where you shot 71% from the field, that's the year you weren't a good shooter? Is that the year?
After that year.
Okay. Because I'm looking, 72% as a senior, so it didn't look like shooting was a problem.
Shooting from outside.
Okay, all right.
3-point percentages.
But obviously, if you're shooting at that percentage, that means you're just dominating around the rim, right?
Yeah. And I had more of a mid to inside game, and through my years in college and towards the end of high school, I started to develop more of an outside game. I've always been able to handle the ball pretty well. That's been one of my strongest attributes in terms of playing, but shooting was probably, along with strength and then defense, were kind of my Achilles heels to my game per se.
So I think a problem we get in New Mexico sometimes at the high school level is the fact that there's no size in the state of New Mexico, right? There's no height. So if you get a kid that's 6'3" and 6'4" in high school here in New Mexico, a lot of coaches just want to throw that guy on the post. And obviously, that kid ain't going to college as a post player, not at 6'4". So what's your message to that player that's forced to play the post in high school because he's 6'4" in New Mexico, but obviously at the next level, there's no way he can play in the post? How does that player get better? How do they develop their skills?
The biggest thing is just my advice. The biggest thing would be just to watch college. Watch NBA players. Watch individuals who look like you, who are built like you. Because in the NBA, there's like people who are like very, very huge, and then there's like individuals who are skinny, and they range in all shapes and sizes. So I would say look at those individuals that are playing the position you should be playing, and try to model your game after that. Because I've always been one of the biggest guys on the team, but I've been able to play like a guard. And so even though they kept telling me, hey, get in the post, stay in the post, I still groom my game to be like a point guard, be like a shooting guard. And I feel like that's one of the things that made me effective, because I grew. And so being able to play like a guard at 6'8", 6'9", that's something that's very valuable. So I would say biggest thing is like keep working on those guard skills and everything. And
future of the game, right? It's 5 guards no matter what size. It seems like that's where the NBA is going.
Yeah, it is. Which it hurts to see that, because I miss the old.
Yeah, I'm an Olajuwon fan, and I miss the true center, but there's no doubt that's where the game's going, right? It seems like.
Yeah, exactly. So just keep working your game. Try to be well-rounded and try to be good at whatever position that you be put in.
So when you were going to high school in Dallas there, who were some of the guys you looked at in the NBA to model your game after at that time?
So I looked at like a lot of point guards. I looked I love the Magic, and so I looked at Jameer Nelson at the time, and then I'll also look at Dwight Howard. I'll look at Steve Nash. I'll look at Darren Williams. I'll look at Jamal Crawford, and just like individuals who had more of like a loose style of play. Because one of the things I grew up on, a lot of it was because of my sister who was playing, was street ball. And so I would look at a lot of street ball tapes and try to model my game after those individuals as well as point guards, because that's what I wanted to be at heart.
First college that contacted you when you were in high school, do you remember the first school that came calling or wrote a letter?
So sophomore year, I did like a breakout camp or whatever, and I ended up being like top 20 in the camp or whatever. And so because I was top 20, I had Baylor come and talk to me and everything, and they pretty much they're like, this kid can play, he's like got some potential, but he's real skinny. And so they're like, you need to go prep school and redshirt. And then also I remember having Oklahoma State come to one of the workouts, scouting some of the other guys, and I did really good at that practice. And then they're like, we want to offer this kid a LOI. I ended up not hearing from them again, but those are some of the two of the most memorable moments with first encounters with colleges.
We're going to take our last break here, come back and talk some Lobo hoops, and take a trip down memory lane when Devon was a University of New Mexico Lobo.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a #1. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
We're back with former Lobo Devon Williams. Thanks for coming in. Now let's move ahead to your time as a Lobo. First of all, talk about how you were recruited by New Mexico.
So I don't know like the full of how they really got there. My coach, he knew coaches from like past players that's been there, and what I was told, they saw me at a couple of tournaments like in Vegas and then like in Arizona, things like that. And so when the school year started, like towards the fall, I was practicing in front of 3 coaches. One of them was Coach Broussard at the time, who was with New Mexico, and then I had Coastal Carolina, and then I couldn't remember the third school that was there. But I was practicing, I was doing pretty good, you know, but then it came to the physical part of practice, and so like conditioning, I was good, I was skinny, I could run all day, but when it came to strength, I was just awful. Like I had no type of upper body strength because I didn't lift weights, I didn't do push-ups, and so I guess we got in trouble or something. I don't know what happened, but moral of the story is I had to do push-ups in front of everybody in the middle of the floor, and everybody was just looking at me, and I'm like sweating. I got a puddle of sweat surrounding me. I got like tears in my eyes because I'm getting embarrassed, you know. I don't know what's going on. I'm like thinking about, should I keep playing basketball? Like this is, I feel like it's demoralizing and everything, but I ended up sticking with it and I didn't quit. And after that, the Coach Brew came to me. He was like, you know, you're obviously not one of the strongest players to be out there, but you're really good and you got heart. So I want to have Coach Alfred and Coach Neal come look at you. And so I ended up doing another workout with them, and then my coach was killing me with the workout. I had like a weight ball. I was doing all the drills we did in practice, but by myself with no subs and or no like other people to do the reps with me. And 30 minutes after, they're like, "Hey Pat, we want the kid. You know, you don't gotta kill him. He's okay. We want to offer him." And so that night, I ended up signing with New Mexico.
All right, and your first impressions when you got here for your freshman year, what did you think of the campus, the community, the coaching staff once you got, you know, around Albuquerque?
Man, it was amazing. Just when I first touched foot on campus, just to have me and the other freshmen, we had like 3 random kids just come up and ask for our autographs just because we were Lobo basketball players. They saw us have our basketball shirts on, so just having that love, and then just to see the culture of the organization at that time, just everything was a certain way. You know, it was like a winning culture. They had just come off of winning multiple championships from Mountain West, and so just to see that environment and culture, how they played, like how they address certain things, like it was that was one of the things that, in terms of basketball IQ, and like just understanding the organization, it really helped me grow a lot in life, and not only in life, but just as an individual.
Freshman year, talk about that.
Freshman year, it was kind of rough just because I was in a weird spot to where, should I redshirt, should I not redshirt? Because like coming in, you know, they wanted me to redshirt, like that was kind of the plan, but in 3 months, I gained like 23, 24 pounds because we had like a really great strength coach, and I was actually eating 3 square meals a day and able to like pack my stomach with some stuff. But it was kind of rough. I ended up not redshirting, and like just that whole year, even though I learned a lot, it was kind of frustrating just to kind of watch from the sidelines and just kind of be just like a spectator in a sense. Like obviously I was practicing and doing the same stuff, weightlifting and everything, but just not being able to be on the court. And then also having sickle cell, whenever we go on the road, just to make sure I was going to be good, they like have me running on the sideline while practice was going, just because they didn't really have too much experience with a kid with sickle cell, so they didn't know if I was going to be struggling when I came back, if I was going to be struggling at sea level. So it was just a bunch of things that kind of made my freshman year rough.
Would you say that freshman year, for 9 out of 10 freshmen, that tests your basketball love the most? When your minutes are limited, when, you know, you're not playing, you know, you go from a high school superstar to now you're playing D1, but 99% of people at D1, freshmen, they're going to see some pine time, right?
Oh, yeah.
Does that test your love of basketball the most? Does that make you work the hardest that first year?
No, it definitely does. And a lot of times it put things in perspective because going in freshman year, and there's a lot of great freshmen out there, don't get me wrong, but it's like being a freshman going into the game, it's like depending on the program that you go to, obviously, it's like you think you just know everything. You think like you're the smartest guy just because you got recruited. You're like a 5-star, 4-star, 3-star recruit, or like one of those people who are polished or like had like all this media attention. And it's like, yeah, you're very talented, but there's still a lot of things that you can learn, and there's a lot of things that you need to learn, especially if you want to go to the next level. And so even though there's a lot of things that I was like really upset about, and it was like really stressful, and there was times where I was just like, I don't know what I want to do. I'm going to transfer to whatever. Like, I really appreciated that year the most because it helped me grow and helped me become deeper and show me that I wasn't deeper than I thought I was. And so I learned a lot to be play, how to be successful, certain schemes offensively, defensively, like the organization of a winning culture, like being on those sidelines, like you learn a lot about how basketball is, the ins and outs. And then it's like, in a sense, I believe in the, if you wait your turn, you're going to shine. And it's like you don't always see the grind that people go through, and you don't see like the trials and tribulations, but you'll just out of nowhere see like this kid, sophomore, junior, just sprout out of nowhere. And it doesn't start with, they just decide to play. It's like they've been working, they've been studying the game, and even though things aren't going their way the first 2 or 3 years, like they stick to it, and the finished product is amazing.
And certainly the finished product was amazing. Your sophomore year, you started 30 games. You had a double-double against that other school in LA where if you can't get into UCLA, I guess you go there. So, you had a fantastic sophomore year, and I think this is just a fantastic story and some great advice for young guys that are playing basketball right now that watch our show. And obviously we do all the high school games here, but I mean, last piece of advice as we're running out of time for the guy that's just trying to make it at the next level, whether it's D1 or D2. What your last bit of advice?
Last bit of advice is 2 things. One, never give up. As soon as you give up, that might be that opportunity that just comes along. Or as soon as you start working on your craft, that just is like you miss your opportunity, or the opportunity comes and you're not prepared for it because you're like, why should I keep working if I'm not going to get the opportunity? You never know when your opportunity is going to come. And then number 2 is just be a student of the game. Whether you're playing and observing yourself, like watching film, or if you're on the outside looking in, just keep being a student of the game. Keep watching these great programs, keep watching these great individuals, at the college, at the NBA level, overseas, even high school kids who are like doing what you're trying to do. Watch how they're doing stuff. Look at the interviews. Listen to their daily routines. Like you can get a lot of information from interviews. Like these people who are being interviewed, they want to tell how they're doing this stuff. They want to give out this information, but you have to know what you're listening for. And so just dissect these things, dissect game film when you're playing, or analyze what's going on the court when you're not playing. Just keep being a student of the game, and don't think that you know everything. Because as soon as you think you know everything, that's when you know nothing. That's when you become ignorant. That's when you don't allow yourself to open up to new doors, open up to new ideas, open up to new strategies. Because the game is always changing and life is always changing. Nothing is always going to be constant. There's always going to be a certain change. So
you can keep watching Devon with the Albuquerque Bull Snakes. Go to bullsnakes.com for their schedule and roster, and go out and support. Thanks for joining us tonight. Good night, everybody.